that's the thing that I really want to share with people, is that these things that you can figure out about the world are really cool. And coming to that realization and being able to get it is really exciting. And it's something that a lot of people miss, I think, when they study math in school.
Welcome to Everyday Superhumans, the podcast to restore your faith in humanity. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Charlie.
And today is a very special day. It's a really special day for you in particular, since you're moving.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking around at all the boxes, and there's nothing in it yet, so I have a lot of work to do.
You have like a bunch of it's like you're ready to make like a box fort of everything in here.
I'm actually just doing those box sets where it's like a box within a smaller box, and then just gets to the smallest box.
Yeah, usually like a Russian doll of boxes.
But just with boxes. And, geometric shapes are really important in today's episode.
Yes.
Math. We're talking math.
Yeah, today
it happens.
Yes, it does. And today we're speaking to MathHappens, which is a educational nonprofit here in Austin. They work with museums and other educational organizations to make exhibits to demonstrate the commonality of math and like how mathematical concepts can be displayed or shown in nature. We actually spoke with MathHappens and one of the partner organizations, which is the Austin Nature and Science Center, which is a City of Austin program that's trying to help teach kids and families and anybody who's curious like how the world works. So one thing that we focus a lot on this episode, since we're talking about nature and like how math applies to that, is proportions and ratios you find in nature everywhere, with the golden ratio being the number one ratio in nature. We also spoke about a new exhibit, newish exhibit, like new into the past year exhibit that MathHappens and the Austin Nature and Science Center made together, which was a human sundial, which is actually pretty cool. Like you stand like in the middle of the sundial on the exact date that the day that is for you, and then your shadow will be pointing the exact date at the time.
I definitely want to go to the sundial, the place, and take some video.
As somebody who has a degree in engineering and loves math and science, I'm happy to see an organization like this trying to teach kids that math is fun and it's not just numbers on a chalkboard. It's actually a way of looking at the world and explaining how things work.
Math happens everywhere, and you don't really realize it. It's the simple things that gets missed.
Well, let's get to the episode, and I'll let you get back with your packing.
I'm Lauren Siegel, and I'm co-founder of MathHappens and the director.
And you are Josh?
Josh Ransom with the Austin Nature and Science Center. I'm the exhibit coordinator there.
So you two have been working with each other for a couple of years now, right?
Yeah. So we had done a project before with the Ransom Center, which is an archive. And we just started out trying to learn more about the museum community, trying to get out in Austin and look for opportunities to talk about math. And the Nature and Science Center seemed like a good place to go. Well, they have a very casual, I would say, specimen room. People can bring things in and trade them. They can see all kinds of native critters. Mm-hmm. And one of the kind of math connections that people talk about first with animals and natural forms is this golden ratio thing. And so we went there, we looked at the place, and we started thinking about what is this golden ratio and how can we let people get their hands on it. Mm-hmm. And that's where the calipers I was showing you come in. These calipers open and close, and they have a proportional third arm in the middle.
They look like how do you describe this? Kind of like giant tweezers.
It looks like Edward Scissorhands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and they're a little scary and they're kind of big. But what happened is we wanted some way to have this ratio in a way that you could get your hands on it. And this proportion stays no matter how big or small the calipers get.
Okay, and for those who do not. Okay, I guess.
Yeah,
should I-
for people who can't see this,
Yeah, I know.
let us try
You
to
could get
describe
photos of
it.
Your SOL.
Do you want to stick your arm out like this, Charlie? If
He's
you,
going to chop you.
yeah, I'm going to chop you.
Alexis her hands now.
So we've
You're
got one
golden.
point on his elbow, one on his wrist, and one on his fingertip. And that proportion is the golden ratio. It's in all humans.
So it's true for like anybody's arm. So you can test on my arm too.
Yes, and your arms are longer
Yeah.
than his, and that is
proportionally.
where the adjustability.
He wants to see. He doesn't
Yeah,
believe
let's
it.
see. So fingertips. Oh yeah, you're right.
And there's a kind of a little exhibit piece in the Nature Center that sort of you can lay it out and then measure it.
So
a
different
single
things
person
here
can
in
do it. Yeah.
like different natural things that are naturally occurring.
well,
like,
just for your forearm.
okay.
Yeah.
Because it's cool when you see a parent do it, but then you also see the kid do it. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh my
Playing
God, it
around.
still works.
This is like a good way to like transition to like what Math Happens does, like in your general sense. Like you're trying to show all the like that math happens everywhere that you go. Like that math is like very applicable and is used to analyze things from like the natural sciences to engineering. I take it.
Yeah, but I think we should talk a little bit about the sun clock too, because our idea is that, yes, people say math is everywhere. Then when you get down to it, where?
Yeah, you don't see numbers in the wilderness. You don't see like an algebraic equation just hanging out next to the Earth to signify gravity. You don't
Right.
see that.
Right.
Well, I think that's why what you do is so important is because, it's hard to engage these little minds in, just pages of math problems. But then when you put them in front of, say, a human sun clock and you say that your physical presence and that celestial body will tell you what time it is of the day. I mean, it's a complete and total intersection from what you do and what we do. So that's why it was I think a perfect first big project for us.
It's been a really good partnership for us. We have been able to go there and try things out with people. Hey, can I explain these calipers to you? And actually, we ended up making ones that were 1-to-1 proportional and 1-to-2 proportional, so people could understand the proportional part of it before we get into this whole golden ratio thing.
So you're working your way up from proportions then.
Yes. And I know that the staff at the Nature Center is using these things. We were there visiting. We have a small exhibit area. That was kind of the next challenge. We can come out and explain things, but what if we leave something here? Will people understand it and use it? And we were there doing something else, and we stopped by, and there was some kind of a dried up paw over by our stuff. And we this is where my lack of content knowledge hit me hard. I'm like, I don't know what kind of animal that is.
No, just don't tell him.
But one of us started playing with the calipers and went, oh, I think I know why this thing is here, because they can show this relationship using this dried up paw and fossils and all kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, to go back to the what she was talking about our, you call it the bone room, is that right? Or specimen room?
What is the correct name
It's
for
called
that?
the
'Cause I'd like
Naturalist
to know.
Workshop.
The Naturalist Workshop. Okay.
So the room at large is the Naturalist Workshop. When it's staffed by volunteers, it's called the Trade Counter. And so, the idea is that visitors can bring in things that they find out in nature, be it a bone, a rock, a shell. My son just brought in a giant snake skin the other day.
Oh, wow.
Our volunteers, they don't just, they don't Google with another human. What is this? Oh, it's that. Here's your points. Get out of my face.
Yeah.
We work through it inquisitively, like, where'd you find this? What do you think it is? Are you sure about that? I mean, how many? And a lot of kids just answer, I don't know. Well, then you try to find where you're going to get some sort of response that will lead you toward the answer. A lot of times we don't know what it is, and that's fine too. We're all, looking at field guides, and that's kind of fun.
I think that's a good time to teach too. If you don't know what
Absolutely.
it is, you say, okay, here's the process now, how to actually figure this out.
And that's kind of hard for an adult to get over. You're like, oh, that's a I know exactly what that is. You have no idea. It's okay to not know what it is.
Yeah.
And some of our best volunteers, that's what they do. They just sit down with these kids. And so she has supplied our volunteers with calipers, and we're using them all the time. So if it is something that, say, the kid just comes in and is like, this is what this is, well, maybe we can explore another aspect of that specimen with them.
What's the oddest thing that you found that has been brought in?
We get really strange concretions and rocks that, like, our geology specialists have no idea what they are. I like bones a lot. That's my strength. And I mean, when we see like fragments of skulls, we're just turning them this way and that. Like, what if it's this and what if it's that? And you're like, no, it's too light to be that. And are you sure? And we found in our collections, we were organizing things not too long ago. We found what we were pretty sure is the top portion of a elephant skull.
What?
Oh.
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
How'd that end up there?
Well, we're not even sure if that's what it is, but that's what, you know, a lot of our that's the consensus view anyway. Back to what she was saying about just the fluidity of what we do and what they do. They have this little space in our main exhibit space that, you know, when we started talking, it became apparent to me that, you know, funding was not something that we had an abundance of, especially not for new exhibits and stuff. And we have this organization that is wanting to develop, you know, these new elements, and they need a place to kind of workshop them and, you know, just kind of a playground. And we need new content. So, hey, why don't we, you know, some things have stuck. Some things are like, wow, that didn't work. Or they have, you know, people come out on the weekend and it's like, okay, this is not as good without the people. This stands really well on its own, you know, so.
Yeah,
you know, really.
we've been able to partner with that. And if you'll notice, these are the calipers
We're looking
that
at
we
some
have.
small calipers now.
Small calipers that are very, very blunt.
So that way,
sure.
The big
hooks an eye
ones are
out.
sharp. These are very rounded at the end. We found out that they can be turned into straight
Yeah, unintended consequence.
javelins.
Watch out,
The
children.
visitor group at the Nature and Science Center are great for stress testing things.
Yeah.
We
Getting
find
young
out.
children in there.
Yeah, of course. But the real benefit is that they attach their excitement over the animals, their excitement over something they found. They attach that to understanding a little bit of math with it. And the math doesn't have to be on a piece of paper. It can be understanding a proportional relationship. And that positive experience is very, very valuable. There's so much kind of math phobia, and people have had a bad experience, and it really affects them emotionally. And so every opportunity to do something different is really exciting to us. We've come out at events when there's lots and lots of people. We've come when there's just a few people. It's all been really good. The sun clock that Josh was talking about, we got to help build it. We did some funding for it and buying the molds, and then our interns, and that's another part of it, is our interns are from UT, and we want them to have a good experience getting out in the community. It's not something that math and science people always do. There are outreach programs, but there are a lot more ways to get out in the community if we can kind of show what they are.
Yeah, and I got their hands plenty dirty when we were making our sun clock. It's poured concrete
Makes
with
it fun.
rebar skeleton, and you know, when we were apart from the temporary kind of elements that we were doing inside the exhibit hall, we were exploring what a more permanent exhibit could be outdoors that we could tie into the things that are happening inside. I think we started with like a Fibonacci hopscotch or path or trail or something, and we struggled with the logistics of it, and the conversation then turned into, well, where does this path go? It needs a destination, right? I mean, you got to go someplace. And I don't know if it was you or I that suggested, well, you know, we want a sun clock too. A sundial would be pretty cool.
Well, a lot of the original thinking around how does the Earth work? How big is the Earth? these are mathematicians' endeavors to figure these things out. And they all go back to the sun and tracking the sun. Lunar eclipses were huge for navigators. And so the sun clock really ties into that well. It also just literally has Roman numerals on the stones. And not every kid has seen a Roman numeral. And
Good time to learn even more now.
Yeah, depending on the age, just going through and figuring out those Roman numerals is a thing for them. And when the sun is out and they stand on the correct spot, there's like a calendar pad. They just light it. It's this amazing feeling. I was taking a teacher through, and it was an overcast day, and she's like, sun cloud, yeah, okay, there's some Roman numerals. And then the clouds moved and the sun came out and she stood on the spot and her shadow pointed exactly to the time. And she was like, wow.
It's like Moses.
This is so cool. Yeah. I mean, all of a sudden, this is so cool. And that's the thing that I really want to share with people is that these things that you can figure out about the world are really cool. And coming to that realization and being able to get it is really exciting. It's something that a lot of people miss, I think, when they study math in school. And that's probably the biggest value to me of the sun clock, being able to come back time and again and understand it when you're 5 and experience it when you're 10. Maybe you see it with a different person or you're in a different frame of mind. Your opportunity to learn those things shouldn't be limited to, well, this is taught in the 3rd month of 5th grade. And if you were checked out for whatever reason, you're not going to get it.
I didn't really start appreciating math until I took physics in high school. Before that, I was like, whatever, math.
Right.
After that, I was like, wow, this actually has like practical uses. I could use this like to predict things, and I could seem like super smart knowing about that stuff. Like knowing that like I had like a real world measurable like application is like what made me excited about math. Before that, I just was like, whatever, numbers.
I didn't even get to physics. I didn't get to physics.
Well, and
I got to chemistry, and then I stopped.
I hate chemistry.
I got straight B minuses.
Yeah, I think
Chemistry is hard.
Yeah, you were talking about experiences that kind of drew you maybe away from math. Chemistry was that.
Yeah, and I think that's true for a lot of people. There are so many different ways to be good and ways to be bad at math that everybody's going to encounter something that they're not good at. I'm not good at calculations. I don't add and subtract very well. But that doesn't stop me somehow, and it stops other people.
After a certain point, arithmetic, at least in my job, doesn't exist anymore pretty much. You just kind of like, at least like with like upper level engineering classes, you never plug in numbers really. It's just like, find the equations for the relationships between these things.
I really liked algebra, finding what the value was for X, and that sort of exploration I really liked.
I know my biggest math weakness is linear algebra. I don't understand matrices at all.
Well, and that's interesting because I learned a little bit about matrices, and then I think the computer programs kind of took them out of relevance as much. But linear algebra is really interesting because it's an optimization thing. It's finding that's what it's for.
I know computer scientists use linear algebra a lot. That's what I've heard at least. I'm not a computer scientist, so I can't say.
Another thing we did is we tried to help people understand this golden ratio as being just a number. And so we came out, they have a traveling exhibit right now, Nature in Numbers, which our stuff is kind of in along with it. And we actually, 1.618 is that golden ratio. And we served little shots of cocoa in 1.618 ounces.
Okay.
But you can drink pie ounces of something. You can, have square root of 2 ounces of something, more or less.
All irrational stuff.
Yeah, they're irrational, but there is a number bigger than what they are, and there's a number smaller than what they are. So if you just get in between those two, you're somewhere close to that irrational number that's vexing you for all your life.
Do you know what irrational numbers are?
Let me think about it for a second.
Because I don't explain it, but...
No, I don't. I don't remember.
The thing with irrational numbers is that they're numbers you cannot get by dividing any other whole numbers together.
Right. And there is a proof for that. But
There's a what?
There's a proof.
There's a proof. Yeah, I've seen the proof for the Discovery too. It's really fascinating. There's the YouTube channel Number File.
I do.
I love Number File so much.
Those guys are good.
Yeah, they talk. It's a YouTube channel about they speak to a bunch of mathematicians from Nottingham University,
right,
and Berkeley in California,
right.
And they just talk to them about different mathematical concepts. It's really good for people that have a basic understanding of math. About to learn more about how these mathematical concepts work. They have one on the Fibonacci sequence.
Right.
They had one recently about how Euler's number, which is a really fascinating number using calculus and compound interest, that pops up a lot. It's another irrational number as well.
Right. The thing that we go back to, I mean, you can watch a video or watch a YouTube, but it's that overall experience, being at the nature center, seeing the animals in the zoo, understanding the fascination with them, understanding that you might want some tools to figure out, is this population healthy? Is it growing? Is it in decline? What's going on with how these things relate to each other? That makes understanding the math compelling because you have a reason to want it. For you're an engineer, you may not need all of that. You may be perfectly happy in the abstract world, or you may be really content with a computer model that you can manipulate. And for a lot of people, it's the so what part.
Yeah.
The work we did at the Nature and Science Center definitely helped us with that. I think the Nature Center kind of embodies what we aspire to, which is to make their visit there an even richer experience by including mathematical connections. And one thing I have failed to mention is that Nature Center in North Carolina actually asked for materials from us based on the ones they saw on display here. I don't know if we talked about that too much.
I don't think so.
Might not have talked about that.
That's really cool.
And we made a connection with a math professor here in Austin who was actually at the Nature and Science Center, saw those exhibits and said, hey, I like these. There's more and more interest in getting outside the classroom, understanding how math relates to the real world, understanding this so what, why should we care? And we're super excited about it, and we're really curious where we're going to go next.
That's great. That's terrific that you're growing and people want to imitate you in a sense or use your systems.
Well, we're all about take it, use it, we'll give it to you. We really are excited when we have an opportunity to do a larger event, like some of these ones at the Nature and Science Center, and talk to more people. It's very energizing and exciting to see them have this good experience. Their kids get it, or they do something. We didn't even get into symmetry and mirrors, which we have a whole other thing on that.
We could do a multi-episode about
you guys could just stay for a couple of days. And I think that's one of the points we're getting to, is that there is so much. And as we try to build models of all of it, we are actually up to our necks in models of all of it. And that's really exciting too. And the partners we have, when we talked about who can we do this talk with, I started making a list of people, and then it turned into some kind of thank you note list that I need to, engage with. And I wish you guys could meet all of our interns. If you looked on our web blog, we got more pictures up. But
we'll
they are
definitely make all
amazing.
these links.
Yeah, they are amazing. And sorry, keep talking.
Right. That's all right. Yeah,
do I get to answer the question, or is there time?
There's always time.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll always do this question no matter what.
Okay.
It's like our signature question.
Have
You actually know what it is.
Thought of the superhero or superpower you would want to be?
I know what I would like for people to feel, and what I want them to feel is I get it and I love it. That's what I want them to feel.
A sense of understanding.
Yes.
Empathy.
And an understanding beyond just I get these numbers, but I get it.
Yeah.
I get why this is interesting to math people, to not math people, and it's interesting to me.
So what's your name then?
I don't know what my name is.
It's got to be epic. It has to be cosmic.
Something.
Like
the math magician. I like that one.
Fractal woman.
No, I don't know. That sounds pretty scattered. That could be right.
That's more of a villain.
That could be right. Yeah, and there's a lot of villainy attachments to math. I don't know.
That's like how you're trying to stop though. So that's like there's good sides to it, because there's a lot of good sides to it. Like, my entire job is based around applied mathematics. Unleash your inner scientist at mathhappens.org, where you can learn all about the wonders of nature and how math can be used to describe them. If you want to see some math in the wild, check out the Austin Nature and Science Center by searching for that in your favorite search engine. You can also stay up to date with the center at facebook.com/ATX Nature Center.
Looking for some good news to add to your life? We can help you with that. Restore your faith in humanity at everydaysuperhumans.com, where you can learn all about the people making the world a better place and find your true calling. While you're there, check out our Find Your Cause quiz to find a nonprofit right for you. You can also subscribe to our monthly newsletter to get a little dose of superhuman news and charity opportunities happening in Austin. And finally, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at SuperhumansCast, like us on Facebook at facebook.com/everydaysuperhumans, and check out our Instagram at everydaysuperhumans.
Has this podcast restored your faith in humanity? Then be sure to rate and subscribe to Everyday Superhumans on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And remember, not every hero has to fly, so grab your cape and let's go.